everybody, and welcome back to another Fluffy Tarantulas video. I'm Sky and I've been keeping tarantulas for about half a decade, but today I've encountered an issue with a new type of enclosure that I recently bought, and the issue is so bad I'm actually going to have to take out my little OBT from this enclosure, as you can see here, because the soil is so dry. The substrate won't keep any moisture, but that's because this enclosure just cannot retain any water. It constantly leaks out. So we're going to have to go in and disassemble it, and I'm going to use some silicone to fix it up and hopefully let it retain some water. However, this does take over a day to dry, around 24 hours, before I can put him back in. So we'll have to get him out and take everything out of the enclosure just to avoid having this silicone just seep into the substrate or anything like that that could potentially be harmful. Having low moisture in an enclosure is not a very good thing. It can be harmful to your tarantula. And the worst part is, I actually have two of these. I have my tailless whip scorpion inside the other one, so I decided to test out the silicone theory. So I took the other one that I have for my tailless whip scorpion and I siliconed the bottom completely, and then it now is able to retain some water on the bottom so it can stay moisturized. So today we'll be moving David back in, and then we will be moving Orang out of here and into a temporary enclosure, and then I'll show you how I siliconed it. Now, first things first is that I do have to get this OBT out. If you know anything about OBTs, then you'll know that they can be quite fast and sometimes even aggressive. That's why they have the nickname Orange Bitey thing, so I'm a little bit worried about trying to get him out, but I've got my trusty tools here. I love long tongs. They make everything a lot safer. And then a little paintbrush in case we have to motivate him to move. But he will be going into this temporary enclosure, which used to be one for a smaller growing tarantula, but now that that tarantula's moved out, we're just going to have Orang stay in here for a little bit until we can fix this enclosure. It'll only be about a day or two that he stays in this little one. He's grown up quite a bit in this enclosure, so I'll also be able to add a lot more substrate once he comes out and this is redone, along with cleaning these water stains around the enclosure that build up and the dust. So we're gonna try to get him out safely and without any issues. So we'll see how this goes. Now, just to explain where he is currently, I'm going to move the things around him and then I'll go for him. He always likes to hide in this little log hide, which luckily can fit in this small temporary enclosure, so I might just try to move that in here if that's the safest and most reliable option, because I really do not want to have him run off around my room or possibly bite me, and then I have to deal with a rash for a few days. So we're going to try to take it step by step to disassemble his enclosure and get things done. Now I'm just going to start taking out these outer decorations, maybe starting with this piece of wood, and hopefully he will not be too surprised by it. He doesn't really use this piece of wood, but I'm still going to leave it in there anyways, since OBTs have kind of been observed to have some semi-arboreal tendencies, so you do want to give them some climbing space, all of that jazz. They just love to web. So he's going to be getting more dirt, and he loves to dig, so he has some baby tunnels here from when he was younger. He's still pretty young, so this upgrade is going to let him spread his wings a little bit more and dig some of those incredible iconic webs. I love to include this fake flowers and leaves and other foliage just to give some more textures. I find at night, if I check on him, he's running around them, he's using them for exercise, all of that jazz, and I think it just makes them feel safer. Most people say OBTs are very aggressive, and all of that jazz, but mine has not shown much aggression at all. I had an event where the lid was wide open and he was just out, and he wasn't really moving at all. He was just very chill, very calm. So I'm thankful for that. I think a proper enclosure setup where they feel like they can hide at all times is crucial to the kindness of an OBT. Let me take a glance at him. Just gonna use my flashlight to see if he's in there. Typically he's always in this log. I just don't want to scare him and have him run out of the enclosure. So let me try to get this water bowl now. Boop. Now we are on the last part, which is the OBT himself. I'm not sure if he will go up with the log itself, so I might just take the lid and place it over and then try to maneuver the log as best I can and see if he'll go with it or if he'll run out. Because if he runs out, we kind of don't want him to have that open area. So we're just kind of going to use this as a barrier. Where is he? I really want to locate his exact whereabouts before I go ahead and do anything. As not to disrupt him, I'm going to just try to put this house inside his new habitat, but I don't currently see him whenever I look in this log. So we're gonna hope for the best, because he's always hiding in here. Here we go. I don't actually see him, but let's get this lid on and investigate further. They're really good hiders, so I'm still gonna dig around the dirt. I don't know if he's hiding. He's got some super thick webbing in here, so he might be very hidden. But I'm not too sure. Let's check around the enclosure a bit. Also going to check here really quick to make sure I didn't get him. Where did my OBT go? The substrate's very dry from the moisture issues it's been having. Oh, don't worry guys, he is actually inside this tree. He's just hidden in a bit of a nook. So he is safely in the transfer container. He's a little bit shy, but I'll put some photos that I have taken the other day of him on screen so you can kind of see how he looks. But I'm so glad that he's there. I've been searching this enclosure for quite a bit and this tree stump, but he is just very well hidden. So I'm glad that the move didn't result in any running or biting. It's probably a lot calmer than I ever would have expected from it. We're gonna move his current decorations to the side. And the next step is to empty out all of this dirt, rinse this bad boy off, and then we will get to siliconing the bottom. Okay, now to explain how I silicone these enclosures. We're going to start by going around the edges and then going down the walls a little bit just to give some protection from the water leaking out. I am using aquarium safe silicone, which means that it won't be harmful to animals and it won't seep out once it's dried into anything. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that. Now this stuff does take a second to come out. It's pretty thick. Plug up this side and smooth it out. Now I'm using quite a bit of silicone here just because I want full coverage, the most coverage I can get. I don't want any open spots or leaks, so I don't have to end up doing this process again. Now that this top part is done, I'm just going to run down the sides a bit and put some silicone. It looks a tiny bit tacky, but it's worth it if the moisture stays in and keeps the animals much healthier. Now I'm just going over and making sure every hole is completely covered, especially these corners where most leaks happen. And we're done. Now I'm just going to seal up this silicone again and wash my hands, and this will sit for about 24 hours to cure, and then I'm going to rinse it off and Orang can move in. Now, if you have an enclosure that's malfunctioning, definitely try to fix it first before spending a ton on other enclosures, unless it's really bad, but this is my fix for this kind of enclosure. And I'm very happy that it was a repairable solution because I really love the size of this enclosure, how much depth it has, and just I think it's perfect for a lot of fossorial tarantulas. So let's check back in tomorrow when we move Orang in. Now, while that silicone dries, we're going to test it out on the current siliconed enclosure that I did first, which is for my tailless whip scorpion named David. He's been in this temporary enclosure. We'll get a little bit of footage of him, but we're going to move him back in here since he's been sitting in here for 2 days while this completely dries. Let's get to redecorating. Now, starting off, of course, we're going to want to add some dirt. This species does not burrow at all, but dirt is crucial to maintaining some moisture. So I've just got my dirt bucket to the side, and we are adding some of this dirt. Now, I've put about an inch of dirt, and that's pretty much all he's gonna need. We're going to add in his wood, which is the most important thing to this species since they love to climb. This species is extremely moisture dependent, so his enclosure was a priority when it came to repairing it. But he will be an easy move in. He's always been very cooperative. He's super cute. He does not want to let go of this piece of wood, but we're going to add this in. I love to give him tons of wood, so I do have some more wood to the side for him. We're just going to give him a big decorating. I made most of these wood pieces myself, and I like to layer them a bit so he can crawl in between. He has plenty of hiding space. I found that's what makes him the most comfortable. But I have a lot of these thinner pieces, and then I do have a thicker piece of cork bark. But I recommend the thin pieces more than the thick pieces. We're just going to give him a huge forest of wood. He likes to crawl in between, feel very safe, so that's what we're gonna do for him. I think that should be enough wood, including the pieces he has in there. Despite their looks, this species is an arboreal species exclusively. They're super fun and interesting to keep, so I definitely do recommend them. They just have a higher moisture need than other animals typically do. I'm going to leave enough space here for his water bowl. He does have extra space around, but this will be the part where I can reach in. And now, let's look at David. These guys can't actually hurt you. The most they can do is a little pinch. Let's try to get a little camera focus on him. There we go. What a beautiful, beautiful little arachnid. Now, they're kind of a mix of a spider and a scorpion. They don't really have too much of a place. I'm just going to gently drop him because I don't want him to hurt his whips or anything of the sort. So, hopefully, there we go. He's super calm for a tailless whip scorpion. Sometimes he can be very skittish, very fast. That's the only concern with this kind of species. They just kind of frighten you whenever they run super fast, but he's a super great species. We're going to give him a little bit of water, and then I'm going to add some fake plants to spice up the enclosure a bit. He's got tons of wood to hide in, plenty of pieces, so this is like a mansion to him, which is why I wanted an enclosure of this size. I got it off of Amazon, and it just was leaking too much water for me. I'm not too sure what it's currently made for, like specifically, but I'm sure that that would be a problem with most creatures that can live in something this size. But let's grab some extra decorations. For the fake flowers, I decided with some white, a little bit of blue, and a tiny bit of pink, along with the purple flower he had in his enclosure originally. So we're just going to find a place for this. It provides great shade to them and just adds some more texture and makes the enclosure a lot more appealing to the eyes. So I always like to add some fake leaves. I find a lot of my animals also become more comfortable since they feel like they can hide even better when they're covered up even more. I'm just going to place these where I feel they fit. Always have fun with the decorating. The more stuff in your enclosure, usually the happier your little arachnid will be. They love that kind of stuff. And I think I've settled on this design. From the front, I think it's super cute. I hope David is chilling. He doesn't seem too happy with being moved again. He's got two of his legs poking out, but he is alive. I think he's just uncomfortable with being placed in a new area again. Now I'm going to add this fake leaf, just right there, and this sphagnum moss, which also helps retain a lot of moisture. So I'm just going to pop it in the back, wherever I can, just to create some moisture hotspots. Now if we take a look at the back, you can see the sphagnum moss running along the back. Now the last thing we need to add is a water bowl. Now I have his water bowl. It's going to have to go into an area where I can easily access it. So I was hoping David would run off into a different portion now, but he has decided not to. So I'm just going to move him a little bit to the side. Look at how cute he is again. He's got a very uncomfortable pose right now. Just gonna fit him back here. Just make sure nothing touches him. I don't want to hurt him in any way, so very gently. There we go. Now we can add his water bowl back here. And perfect. Now he has an area to drink water, just straight up. So we're going to take my favorite little mister, and we're just going to mist the enclosure and fill up his water bowl, and then he is done. This mister takes a couple of pumps, and then you get a lot of air pressure in there, and it makes watering so much easier, less hard on my wrists. Now this enclosure will hold the moisture so much better. And I'm sure David's gonna feel that relief already. Now, let's make this nozzle more of a stream and fill up his water bowl. I'm also just going to stream a little water around to just fully hydrate things. And now his enclosure is absolutely perfect. I know he's gonna enjoy this so much, and I can't wait to decorate Orang's enclosure tomorrow when it's completely dry. So I'll see you then. Welcome back everybody. It has been about 2 days since we siliconed this enclosure. I just wanted to give it extra time to dry just to make sure I'm not exposing my animals to anything that's curing. So it's turned out pretty well. It also doesn't make an obnoxious noise whenever I slide it on the table anymore, which is kind of a pro of also adding the silicone, because it used to be very jagged and rough whenever you try to move the enclosure on the table or on the shelf, so I'm very happy with how this turned out. Orang has been in his temporary for the last 2 days, and I've gotten a photo of him just wandering about, but he is very reclusive, but I'm sure that he's going to enjoy his new enclosure once we get it set up. I'm thinking of making a lot of changes since he's growing older and I want this to be his permanent adult home. So let's get to it. First things first, we're going to want a lot of dirt for him to dig and tunnel in. OBTs love to web up and make their own dirt tunnels, so we want to give him plenty of space to do that. I've got my dirt bucket here to the side of me, so I'm just going to keep scooping and scooping until it looks good. Here's 1 scoop of dirt, 2 scoops, 3 scoops, 4 scoops, 5 scoops, 6 scoops. Now I'm realizing this is going to take a lot more dirt than I thought. I moistened up 1 coconut fiber block, which makes a ton of dirt, but he might use that whole thing. I've lost track of how many scoops this is. There we go. Okay, that's the last scoop I have. I lost count of how many scoops I was using, so if you watch the speed up footage and count them, let me know in the comments how many scoops this is, because I'm kind of curious. This is about 1 coconut fiber block. I'm gonna make it a little taller on 1 corner and make kind of a cave for him to go into. And then I'm gonna put his water bowl on this lower corner just to add some variety to the enclosures. I always love to make kind of a hill whenever I'm working with substrate. So I'm just going to make him a starter hole right here and maybe put his little tree stumpies in over it so he's a bit motivated to use it. So now that we've got this starter tunnel over here, he's got plenty of substrate to burrow in on the thicker side and plenty on the thinner side. Now we're going to add back his decorations. I do like this piece of wood. It's a little bit large though. I think it could be good if we maybe give him more of an angle so he can kind of use it as a cave. I'm just trying to think of how it would interfere with the tree stump, because this is a pretty big piece of wood. We might have to break it a little. This is a little better. And there we go. I'm liking that much better. He has some wood to hide under. Maybe we can make a couple of bits here with the extra wood we just broke off, just to kind of add some texture to the enclosure. Use them up. There we go. We can add some height. Just have fun decorating your tarantula's enclosures. They'll probably mess it up and make it however they want it with time, but it's always fun to work with it. Now, he's got a bit of dirt in his bowl. I'm just going to use my water to quickly rinse it out. There's just a little bit of dirt in it, so I'm just gonna clean it like that and place it in this corner so it's in reach but not too in the way. And hopefully he will not fill it with dirt. There we go. Got some water in, and now for his fake leaves, we're just going to scatter them around, give him a little bit of shade, feel like he can hide a bit more, and just add a pop of color to the enclosure. Here's a plant he webbed up a ton. Just gonna stick that right with this wood. trying to leave this area empty for the tree stump, which hopefully will have a good fit. There we go. Everything is placed down except for the tree stump. Made a little bit of a mess, but that's okay. We're building an enclosure here. So let's try to get Orang into the enclosure. I'm hoping it's going to be just as easy as getting him into this, but once again, we don't know if he's going to want to run. I doubt it though. He's pretty calm for an OBT. I'm just going to use the same technique I did before. There's conveniently just 2 holes in this little tree stump, so I'm just going to grab it like that. That way he does not have like an easy field to run into me. Here we go. Scaring him a little by accident. Just want to make sure this does not fall. But he is in the enclosure now. I think I'm going to move this red flower behind here. So the tree stump is now on top and he is in there. And to be honest, I think this enclosure has turned out super cute. Let's do a little view of it from all angles. And the final product is very beautiful. He has plenty of hides, he's got plenty of decorations, a water bowl, just what more could you need? Plenty of dirt to burrow. I'm really happy with how this transformation came out. Thank you all so much for tuning into another tarantula vlog video. I hope you enjoyed watching the transformation from that old enclosure to a new and improved one, and let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!